Welcome, brave heroes. I'm Ash. This is Angle Quest. Actually, this is not going to work out very well. Just a quick demonstration of what I'm actually doing here, trying to play with different angles, but my house is just a bit too shaky. So we're going to put you back on this very reliable, directly mounted camera mount and screw that in nice and tight. And now we are back to the video. Is this enough light? Hold on, I forgot. There's literally lights on the frame. Oh God, that's gonna be very glossy, too bright. Okay, whatever. I went to Goodwill where I paid $4.74, which is upside down. It's actually $4.74 for this, which obviously I couldn't pass it up. It's a lovely, beautiful plastic suitcase. I can't believe, and with a little bit of a Velcro tab there, this is gonna be so useful. I'm going to be able to store so many activities in this, but enough about that. What came with it free were all of these awesome maps. Can't make this stuff up. This was just in that plastic suitcase. And this is really what caught my eye. This is kind of what I could see. This, it turns out, is a set of maps, 1-inch grid style, from Paizo and Game Master. These were made in 2010, and once I opened up the package and saw what was in it, oh God, I fell in love with this. Tavern indoor maps, and not just one or two, but just a plethora. So I wanted to show you guys kind of this mystery product and what I ended up finding, and we'll just go ahead and turn those lights off after all, so we get a much more ambient and pleasant experience, because really I found 3 separate products in this single package. So here's one of them. This is Weird Wars, Rome. The Druid Circle and Village contains one double-sided erasable poster map for Weird Wars, Rome, or any role-playing or miniatures game. And this was made by Pinnacle for Savage Worlds. I've never heard of this before. It retailed for $14.99, and this is a package that has never been opened before. If it has, they certainly knew how to put it back together. So this is evidently one map, and before, I know a lot of people are going to ask before you ask, this is the broadsword. This is nothing to do with this video, but it's going to be a backdrop that you see in a lot of videos. This is a neoprene custom printed mat that was made by taking Ian Schofield's broadsword from his Beautiful Dungeon Mats collection and submitting it to Inked Gaming and printing it on their 36-inch by 36-inch wargaming mat. That's how I got that. So let's unfold this diabolical atlas. Right off the bat, we're going to get issues with the map being very folded up. And so when we unfold it, it'll be really floopy. It'll be really difficult to hold down. You'll need something that can hold stuff down flat, and you'll need to get this flattened. After a couple of days of doing that, it might be serviceable. I'm not really too worried about it myself because I'm not really going to use this mat in particular for anything. I like things that are a bit more modular, but you see that this is an enormous wargaming map. On one side, we have this sort of alien, I guess this would be the Weird Wars Rome Druid Circle. And then the village is on the opposite side. You could really recontextualize this any way you wanted, of course. The village provides you with ample places to go in a non-combat scenario. If you have decals or 3D models, you could sit things down on this map to represent even more buildings. It is enormous, very glossy, very glossy. One thing I have to say about the neoprene maps that I ordered that you'll have seen in another video if you go check out the review video on my channel from a few days ago is that there's no glossy reflection. They are super easy to record content on. But this is it. This is what we would pay $15 USD for, evidently, for this Weird Wars Rome. I don't know anything about this game. I've never heard about it before. And maybe this could be really useful. Not really my cup of tea, but something that I think somebody could really dig and add to their wargaming repertoire. As for myself, I'm going to dig into the next thing that came free with my $4.74 plastic suitcase. And we'll save the best for last. Get into those Paizo Game Master mats last. This is also a Game Master flip mat. This is basic. On one side, we have, well, what is indeed a basic wargaming mat, fit to be outfitted with your favorite miniatures and decals and terrain. such that why would you even bother using something like this? I assume that it's dry erase. It has that surface to it. I really don't think that would be a mistake in assuming that it's dry erase at all. We get the Paizo company logo in the corner, copyright 2010. They own this brownish, tannish mass of landscape art, as well as this messy marbled floor. Not really a fan. Don't really care. Don't really care. You know, can't complain because it was free, but it's going to go to the next person. This is going to go to my local giveaway place, and somebody will be able to find that and be very surprised that they were able to find that in a small town such as where I live. And they'll wonder, who donated this? Who lives here that plays these kinds of games? And it won't be me because I don't play anything that would be essentially wargaming. And if I did, it wouldn't be on a square grid. Anyway, the lovely, beautiful tavern. This is, I see it. Arcknight. This is from Arcknight. I have seen Arcknight stuff on Amazon. Now I know where this is from. I didn't see that logo when I initially checked this out. We've got an interior and we've got an exterior. And the exterior is tight buildings together, very friendly for HeroQuest because of the 1-inch standard and the alleyways being reminiscent of the tight dungeon corridors and the rooms being pretty appropriately sized. We've got 2 rooms here together that are 2x3, and what a coincidence, we also have 2 2x3 rooms on the HeroQuest board, so we know that these sizes are not necessarily non-standard for HeroQuest. Here we have a 5x6, and well, that's more or less the same size as the central dungeon tile. These tiles, however, are just, they're not really offset, actually. They're not offset at all to the HeroQuest board. You could use these, if you put them in the right place, almost seamlessly. Just depends on where you're putting them. Here is the tavern in a dungeon scenario. Love indoor stuff like this though, very, very much. I love seeing it. We've got our toilets. That's the first thing I point out after I say that I love seeing this stuff. We've got lots of bedrooms. Here's a very unluckily placed bedroom. You don't want to be the recipient of this one. 2 small, and then 1, 2, a master room in the corner, then 1, 2, 3 nicer standard sized rooms. Definitely nice. A sort of storage area. This is where all the ale barrels are stored. And then a little dining area / visiting area. Another pretty decent sized room. And then more of a private meeting room or dining room, depending on how you want to use it. Love this. Let's take a look at the next one because there's more than one sheet that goes along with this. We've got a much larger, basically the entire tavern area. I said tavern at the beginning. I meant inn, kind of mixing the 2 terms together, tavern and inn, as if they were a shared building. Because sometimes whenever you're making buildings like this, for some games it's the majority of the time, but for others it's just sometimes you do tend to place the 2 things together rather than make them 2 separate buildings. Upstairs inn at the tavern, basically this is the area behind the counter. Pretty massive area if you consider each square to be, 5 feet, even if you consider each square to be 3 feet. All of our little tables, which really put things into perspective when you see these tiny, tiny chairs at these tables. That art could have been much bigger, I think. This could be a tavern for gnomes as well. Really like the details otherwise, like the fact that this just exists at all. And then we have the doors going outside. And the opposite side of this is a variation on the tavern and inn combination. We have a hearth, we have doors coming from outside, we've got the tables, we've got a much more reasonably sized countertop, we've got some dining area, and then we have doors that lead to the hallway where there are small rooms for tenants, and then a door that goes to the living area for the person running the tavern. Love to see it. Love to see you can come back here, get invited by the barkeep to the back for secret meetings where rebel discussions are held. And then you may be invited to stay in the safety of the back room while the tavern comes back up front and then betrays you to the military officers that come in for a drink. That is a very useful mat. I like to see that very much. Here is another one that I have, basically just double wide corridors going down the middle of a dungeon, a slightly wider alleyway, but still danger lurks around every corner in a scenario such as this. On the opposite side, it's a much bigger, more open area. Buildings that could be whatever you need them to be, whatever context, plenty of places here in the open area to put things like merchants or sculptures or a demonstration of military oppressive strength, or perhaps there's a crowd gathered round some sort of event going on out here. Maybe there's a public execution happening outside. We have several more of these to go through. Let's check them out. We have a pretty straight shot road, 2 buildings, long ways. Flip this over. We have a massive indoor map. This could be used for an entire scenario. Lots of buildings, lots of different possibilities for a map this big. Interior. You could actually make this into your own tavern if you've got the right decals or miniatures. You could make this into a warehouse. You could make this into barracks. The military is garrisoning here in this town, perhaps. You have these smaller buildings that could be supply buildings. You have mini quests where your heroes are sent to go out to the supply buildings to either check them or bring supplies back in. And you've got to protect yourself from patrols that are coming in here to check out what this stuff is, because they don't know that you're holed up in this section of buildings. The scenarios can be plotted a lot better than I'm outlining here. You could even have enemies coming along the edges here. They can break in through the windows if you don't have a hero patrolling out here, but it's dangerous out here because they could get pincered. They could get trapped on the opposite side. We've already looked at that. On the next one, a cluster of buildings, lots of tight places and corners, twisting, winding alleyways, lots of buildings, lots of potential places for NPCs to sell you stuff or enemies to pop out. Opposite side, 2 buildings across from one another, long, large road between them. On the next one, another grouping of buildings with a large clearing in between a lot of them. You've got to travel down some alleyways to get to this place, so it's a good place for meetings. 3 buildings, 2 fairly sized ones for fighting, combat, discovery, 1 slightly smaller one, but that could be, that could really subvert expectations. Perhaps the hardest battle of all is in that slightly smaller building. Large road, a great interior pre-walled for us, already sectioned off into rooms. They've done a lot of the heavy lifting for us. Now we can just place doors, and then in classic Hero Quest fashion, whenever our adventurers open the doors, we can reveal the contents of the room beyond. I saw an interesting conversation. Somebody asked, why are we doing the entire room reveal when our heroes can only see so much? I had a player tell me that, and this is paraphrasing the poster, a player tell me that they shouldn't be able to see past the enemies in the room, so we shouldn't place anything unless the hero can actually see it. But the rules still say to go ahead and place all of the contents of the room. So I don't think enemies disappear from the board just because they walk behind other enemies. I think that for strategic purposes, once the hero sees that enemy, they're pretty sure that enemy still exists. They don't have issues with their object permanence. As far as furniture goes, I think that furniture is pretty big, broad, or tall, so it's pretty easy to see past, say, a goblin to know that there is a big table, 2 by 3 tiles behind him. I think that it definitely could be placed down. Now, if you have like 3 orcs all in a row here, and a here perhaps, and a fireplace behind them, and you just open this door, I would think that you maybe couldn't see the fireplace, but the rules say to go ahead and reveal the contents of the whole room, so we do that. And we do that knowing that when the hero turns around and leaves the room, we don't have to pick the stuff back up. It's still there. And very, very few quests reuse furniture assets such that you have to move them after you've placed them. So it is a valid wonder for sure, but it's much more productive to place the stuff as you find it, I believe. So I forgot to kind of go over this, but we've got 4 buildings here and a clearing. Then the last map that I have is pure wargaming goodness on one side, completely open, templated for your use. I don't like to have stuff like this because I'm never going to use it completely open like this, even when I have the means to populate it with all of my own stuff 100%. I just don't have a need for so many of these blank open space maps. I'm not complaining, by the way, not complaining at all. It's good to have the option, but I'm just saying I don't need them. And then another pre-walled house. This is what I love to see. This is what invites me to imagine. This is what inspires me, motivates me to work with these limitations and start placing things and organically writing a scenario while I place things down using visual lore elements that are facilitated by the placement of the doors leading into the different rooms. That's what I really, really like to see. And it's a great one to end this particular presentation on. So check out these Arcknight maps. If I can get a link to exactly which one these are, it will be in the description below. You'll likely have seen that before you have even watched the video, because it's going to be at the very top of the description, right underneath the video title. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, onward, brave heroes, and let me know if you'd like to see these in some mock Hero Quest plays. All right? Gravity Land!